blur my background.
All right. Hey, everyone. Coach Walter here coming to you with episode 6 of Finding Your Game. Hard to believe that I'm already at episode 6. But I'd like to welcome our guest for today, Kevin Wu. Kevin played his college golf at Yale from 2018 to 2023. At Yale, his best finish was a tie for third at the Doc Gimler that included rounds of 70, 68 the first day. And also at Yale, he was a 2-time All-America scholar, so he excelled thoroughly in the classroom. And looking Kevin up, prior to his time at Yale, Kevin's junior golf highlights included winning the 2013 AJGA Philadelphia Junior, tying for 4th at the 2017 AJGA Killington. Kevin, some of our guests might be born at this time, this 2013. But anyways, keeping going, Kevin finished tied for 3rd at the 2017 First Tee Greater Baltimore Junior. He was ranked as low as 62 on the Rolex AJGA ranking and was a member of the Hong Kong national team. I really got to know Kevin last year when he and his friend David set out to create an inaugural Elite Junior tournament in January 2025 in Macau that brought some of the best junior golfers in Asia together. And the tournament invited some elite D1 coaches like Alan Murray of UW and Clay White of UPenn. I really admired Kevin and David for their work in giving Asian junior golfers more exposure and more opportunity. They were just doing it for the right reasons. Kevin, thanks a lot for joining the show all the way from Hong Kong. I see you're wearing your Yale shirt, so I don't know. What is it? Go
Bulldogs.
Go Bulldogs. I'm sure our audience will really be excited with some of the things you have to share. So enough talking on my end. I'll just start off with the normal, like, please tell us about yourself. Where are you from? How old were you when you started playing golf? When did you get serious? And maybe what's one memorable moment in golf?
Sure. Good to have me. Good to see you, Coach. It's been a while. Hope you're doing well. Hi, everyone. So I'm Kevin Wu. I was born in Hong Kong and I grew up in Shanghai. I started playing golf when I was around 7. At the start, it was very recreational. I was trying to play a couple of sports and really find my way, see which one I liked most. And maybe when I turned 9 to 10, I slowly got into competitive golf where things got a little more serious. I started practicing more regularly and started playing tournament. And that's when I think eventually when I was 11 or 12, it went from recreational fun to competitive golf fun where you're really working hard trying to get better. You have a dream of playing professional golf. And, when I went into high school, I started, exploring opportunities to play in college. And back then, I think most players based in China, at least, weren't really deciding to go to the college golf path. Most people turned pro when they finished high school, and many of them are hugely successful and great golfers today. But I uncovered that I wanted to go to a college golf school with a good balance between academics and golf. So, headed down that path and got very, very, very lucky in the process. And probably the most memorable moment in junior golf was winning my AJGA. I came back on the last round, came back from 6 back all the way to the last hole. And that was a very thrilling experience. When things go your way, golf is very, very fun. But there are obviously times when it doesn't. And it's also the fun waiting for the next time when you're into that flow zone.
Yeah, man, anytime an international student wins an AJGA, especially like in 2017, you definitely make a name for yourself, and coming overseas, foreign territory, and getting the win in Philadelphia. That was great. Kevin, can I ask, like, how often did you come to the U.S.? Like, I listed AJGAs in 2017. You enrolled at Yale fall 2018, but how many summers did you come to the U.S. and play in tournaments?
So I came for about 3 or 4 summers, probably 3 summers, starting my freshman year. So my route wasn't, the smooth pass where you come over and you win. I kind of did grind through, the qualifiers, played some of the other events to build up my PBE. That set up for more opportunities my sophomore year, where I played a little better, had, one top 10 finish, but most of them were still between 10 for 20 finishes in AJGA Opens around. And just continue to build up my PBE status. So allows for junior year to start picking tournaments, not having the stress of not getting into tournaments, and also picking tournaments in locations where I was recruiting more heavily. And that really helped me and created more opportunities to play well.
Do you mind elaborate a little bit when you said picking tournaments more? Did you know you kind of wanted to focus more in the Northeast part of the US and to go to college? Because I think that's really enlightening.
Correct. Yeah. So my path at the very start, my freshman year, I was there. I played the IMG, or now it's the U Swing Junior Worlds. And then there's also a couple more qualifiers around the region. And then those went well, which set up for some more success my sophomore year, where I began to start chatting with some coaches and have an idea of who's more interested and where I am more interested in, and picking tournaments that are a little closer to those schools, allowing for those coaches to catch me. And then also, sophomore year was still a little bit of which tournaments can I get into with my limited PBE status. There's tournaments, for example, California for me was much more competitive, where you needed to have very good status to play an open, but somewhere in the Northeast, it might be a little less, allowing me more playing opportunities. And then building into junior year was I had the liberty to kind of pick and choose a little bit more where I wanted to play, because I built up my status my sophomore year. And then by junior year, you have a very good idea of exactly which schools you're recruiting at. So my schedule was heavily tailored to the schools I really wanted to play for. So that's kind of like the scheduling for me.
Oh, and when you say PBE, it's not peanut butter jelly sandwiches. These are
it's the AJGA stat, the stars and the full exemptions, trying to get into tournaments. Yeah.
Gotcha. I think, Kevin, this episode's probably going to draw a pretty decent interest from overseas players, especially maybe in China. How were you able to kind of work on your golf game during the school year? I don't know what your hours were at the American Shanghai school, but how were you able to get as good as you did before you came in the summers?
Just played a lot. So kind of starting when I was 11 or 12, I pretty much played most days after school. So school ended around 3:30, and then I went to go pretty much play golf till sundown and catch up on work at night. And then on the weekends, you pretty much try to spend as much time as you can on the golf course and go play tournaments. So that was pretty much the schedule. And my school was relatively supportive of me playing tournaments during the school year. There was an arrangement where as long as I make up the work before I leave, I could, go play tournament and take some time off. So that was a great arrangement for me, where I kind of I was pretty much on the college schedule for a little bit, where you kind of anticipate all right, I need to take this final or this exam before I leave, and then I'm gonna go play golf and come back to school, and there's not gonna be an opportunity for because you played golf, you can slack off on work a little bit. So that was actually, in hindsight, it was challenging at the time, but in hindsight, it was actually very beneficial leading into college.
Yeah, I bet honing in your time management skills kind of before college, before getting to Yale, was probably very helpful for you while you're at Yale. Do you mind going a little bit in the process of how you found yourself at Yale?
Right, 1 second. Let me just turn something off.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Ladies and gentlemen, we just lost Kevin. That's the shortest podcast in Finding Your Game history. Nope, he's back. He's back.
I'm back.
I was just asking, a lot of viewers will probably want to know, how did you get yourself in front of Yale's footsteps? Obviously played some AJGAs, but did you reach out to the Coach Colin, I think at the time, at an early stage, or when did you reach out to him?
Yeah, I reached out pretty early. It seems, I think overall, some schools definitely front run the process. For me, my experience are definitely front running the process. And the Ivy League, I think their concern is very much on the academic side at the very start, because you need your SAT scores and your GPA to be in the right ballpark for them to be able to recruit you. So, getting those scores in as quickly as possible to the Ivy League coaches are super important. So I took my SAT early, my sophomore year, and then it was score, but there was definitely like it was a arrangement of like this is the score I have, but I'm taking it again to improve my scores. And also I had a decent GPA, so that generally brought the interest of the Ivy League coaches on the earlier end. I think that was very beneficial because even throughout hosting the camp or just staying close to Colin throughout my 4 years, seeing him recruit a little bit, for him it definitely was having the academic scores in so they can give you a pre-read is very, very important, because if they can't get you in, then they might try to spend their efforts somewhere else.
Gotcha.
Understanding the certainty that academic requirements for Yale or other Ivy League schools are very, very high, and it's kind of a non-negotiable piece there.
Yeah.
So for them, they definitely want to see the academic scores early, and then they can they know, okay, I can hire I can recruit you, so we can spend more time and follow your schedule, or spend the time to come watch you play golf.
Gotcha. Just so the audience knows, what are you doing now? Or what's you said hired, so I sense this professionalism mentality. So what do you do now?
So yeah, after graduation, I came to Hong Kong. I'm working at a bank, the very standard post college route into finance. But enjoying my time out here in Hong Kong.
All
Definitely
right.
very different from playing college golf. A lot less golf now, but
No.
still enjoying the ride.
Hopefully your coworkers want you in their scramble format. Hopefully.
Oh yeah, I've learned to enjoy social golf a lot more. I feel like now, after graduation, there was a period where I was like, all right, like this is going to be pretty different. I'm going to play a little less golf, and now I'm like itching to play again. So.
Yeah, competitive golf and social golf are two different animals. Well, back to golf. Kevin, how do you think you improved as a player, whether it was at Yale or after college? How do you think your experience or wisdom has helped you looking back?
I think for me was just spending the time to really understand your game. I think once you're in college, you're very, very busy. Just really learning that what tendencies you have, because it's never perfect, especially when you have to play consecutive tournaments. I think college for me was the shock for me was where you're playing so much at such a high frequency without having to reset or going back to the range, or spending some time to recalibrate your game. So really learning to play with one or two tendencies that you have is super important for me. Because it's always the same things that creep in once you get to the second round of a 36-hole day, or you're on the third tournament and in a row, and you're getting very tired, and kind of like what your miss is. So like learning to play with your tendencies there was very important for me.
Yeah,
I think at the very start of my freshman year, I was like, oh, like, this is not perfect. I'm like kind of a little in shock or a little rattled, on the course, where I'm like, this is, not where it needs to be. But, kind of getting into like sophomore year and junior year where I started playing better was where, I learned to play with these tendencies and like learn how to adjust more quickly on the course. I think that was quite an interesting point for me.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Kevin, because in junior golf, you kind of have the luxury of trying to schedule tournaments, and maybe you play one tournament a month and you can try and get your swing dialed in or your putting dialed in. But kind of in college, you just kind of have to play with what you have and make the most out of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And for me, it was definitely a shock, because I like to go to the range. I like to, tweak my game a lot before I play. And coming into college, it was the scheduling was completely different, where you had school, you only had, especially for Northeast, you only had a certain amount of time in the year to play outside and schedule tournaments. So our schedule was always more packed than usual. So we played 3-4 weeks in a row, but when you're getting into your third week, everything's tired, and you kind of don't have enough you don't have enough time to tweak your game, so you just kind of have to go out there and shoot a score. So I think that was first of all, was very uncomfortable for me, but then I learned to play, and I think, that experience is very great.
Yeah. I think you and I are wise enough to know that there's a lot to be said for kind of being uncomfortable and having to grow when you're not in your comfort zone.
Yeah, looking back, it's also the better.
Speaking of non-comfort, how was it trying to play in the winter months out there?
It
What
was
was it
good.
like?
It was different. Not being able to play outside was quite different, but I think winter month was also a good time to. I think indoor golf. I'm actually a decently big proponent for indoor golf because you can focus on. You kind of like remove the result a little bit, where because you don't see the ball flying, you can really work on your
Oh,
technique. I think done the right way, indoor golf can be pretty beneficial for if you want to make a swing change or you're trying to like work on X, Y, and Z very, very consistent to like, build some good patterns. I think indoor golf is great. And also for putting, it's not, putting outside is still very good. And golf is obviously played outside, but honing in the technique and focus on the putt lab or something like that to make sure your stroke is good. I think there's a lot of good benefits for indoor golf. And you can obviously focus on the fitness. And I think coming out of the winter months, the first couple of weeks would be like, oh wow, I haven't seen a ball fly in a while. But
mhm.
I don't feel like I've made some good progress indoors, even though it's not, golf's played outdoors.
Well said. So what you're saying is in Hong Kong, you're going to start your own TGL series then?
That would be cool. That would be cool. I think there's room for that. Some a TGL four ball would be the play.
um, I mean, Kevin, you've done really well for yourself. But if you could go back in time to your 15-year-old self, what would you tell yourself? And how old are you now, Kevin?
I'm
Help me out.
25.
25 years young.
So
So if you
10
go back,
years. Go back
yeah.
10 years. It's a good question. I think I was looking into this. I forgot who said this, but it was very much like taking the attitude of, just work hard and love it. I think there was definitely a
Mm,
lot of. I think looking back, there was definitely a lot of challenging times, and in those times, you just kind of like shrug it off and like keep going. And I think looking back, those are the times where you remember the most, whether it goes well or not well. Those are the times you talk about, and I would think back to. So just enjoy the ride and like keep putting yourself into those situations. I think, uh, I definitely had moments where I was, going into the last two holes of a one shot lead or tied for the lead, or one of those moments where you hit a bad shot or you hit it out of bounds and the pressure got to you, and those times are very crushing at times. But
mm.
looking back, I was chatting with my coach then. He's a very, very experienced golfer, and his advice was there's nothing really you can do, but the only thing you can do is put yourself back into those situations again, and that's how you learn. You can never practice playing under immense
Yeah.
pressure, however you simulate it. So the best thing you can do is keep going and putting yourself in the opportunity to succeed, and it'll go your way eventually. So I thought that was great advice, and I've taken it to heart since, and it's been great.
Yeah, that's great advice. I remember seeing a quote that, saying pressure is a privilege. You've played well to put yourself in a pressure situation, so kind of viewing it as a privilege. And yeah, you're not always gonna be on you'll be on the short end of the stick, unfortunately, more often than not. But putting yourself in that positions, it says a lot on how much you've worked on your game.
Yeah,
Uh,
totally
you
agree. That's great.
you probably haven't been playing much lately, but maybe when you were at Yale or as a junior golfer, was there like one or two drills or on-course games that you enjoy doing?
So for long game, I think I loved the towel drill. I think that's just like for me, that's the best. Just keeping everything connected with good rhythm, 3/4 shots. I always try to do that in most of my practice sessions. And then more recently for my long game, there's this drill where you try to hit a low cut with a long iron, kind of like a half swing or a 3/4 shot. Make sure it starts out low and cutty. That really gets my swing path and my
Ah,
swing patterns in the way I want it to go. And then on the short game side for chipping, there's this very basic game I would try to play when I was still practicing a lot. Essentially, there's a 10-yard chip and 20-yard chip, and then If you chip it in the hole, it's 2 points. If you chip it within 3 feet,
Ah,
sorry. If you chip it in the hole, it's 4 points. If you chip it within 3 feet, it's 2 points. And if you chip it within 5 feet, it's 1 point. And you try to get to like 18 or 20. There's a set amount you want to get to. How, for your 10-yard chip, your 20-yard chip, your bunker shots. It's like a very simple game with 10 balls. Say like 10 balls, 10 yards away, you're trying to get to 18 pretty much. So most of your shots
oh,
are.
that's good.
So it puts a little bit pressure. Puts a little bit of pressure on yourself, and then you kind of cover all the grounds very efficiently in 30 minutes or 40 minutes. So that's kind of a short game drill I really liked.
Yeah. When you say that the towel drill, is that putting the towel?
Yeah,
like
the
a
towel just
long-
under your arms and hitting balls.
Gotcha.
I think that's just like a super good drill that always gets my swing in the right place.
This is an interesting question that just popped up. What did you do in between summers when you were at Yale? Did you play, compete, or an internship? What did you do, Kevin?
Yeah, so freshman and sophomore year, I'd play a little bit more. I played tournaments in the summer, and then I took a year off during COVID, so I played a ton of tournaments during that COVID year. But not everyone has that. But into my junior summer, that's kind of when I started doing more internships more seriously, getting ready for postgraduate opportunities. So those summers you definitely play a lot less, and then you come into the fall a little bit rusty. But that happens to a lot of players, and I think it's just it's a tough choice, right? You just got to play good. You just got to play a lot of golf to stay good at golf. It's one of those games. If you work hard, you might be good, and if you don't work hard, you're definitely not going to be good. So yeah, so that's kind of like what I did. I wanted to play good my freshman sophomore year, and kind of like when it's junior summer, it's also time to start pivoting and getting ready for work.
Yeah, unfortunately, work.
Too short.
Time does fly in college. So after your freshman and sophomore years, did you stay in the U.S. or did you go back overseas for tournaments?
So I did a little bit of both because I still get some good playing opportunities through Hong Kong, and very thankful for their support. There was some good tournaments, and just trying to. And I also played in the Northeast a little bit, so met stuff that was very fun. So I think there's a lot of good tournaments everywhere, and you just have to show up and play. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Great stuff. Thanks, Kevin. Final question. Is there any closing advice you have for any young golfers out there? Maybe we'll just say in Shanghai, Hong Kong, China, or anywhere. Any closing advice that you could?
Ooh, that's hard. I don't think I'm in a spot to give advice just yet, but sure, I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a shot. I think very important. I think college golf. There's a lot of great fits. This is more college golf for players. There's a lot of good fits out there. That's not just there's more than 3 or 5 schools in the whole of NCAA, and you're going to get a great experience in maybe 100 of them. So like keep an open mind, and also like reach out to a lot of people. Right. If you don't reach out, you're never, no one's really going to remember your name. So like, just reach out with an open mind, and I think you'll be surprised at what might come your way. I think that's probably the most important advice. If I had any for the players in the region, just it's not just Stanford golf, right? There's like 150 there's actually 300 great D1 schools for you, and D2, D3. And you're going to get a really good playing experience, and you're going to get the college golf experience in a lot of places. So keep an open mind and reach out to a ton of people. They want to meet you, coaches want to meet you. So just go out there and play good golf and reach out to people.
Yeah, that's great advice. I try and tell junior golfers that you gotta go out there and market yourself. It's hard to be shy and waiting for coaches to reach out to you. That's only a select few kids, so you kind of have to put yourself out there. And email, reach out, Instagram, whatever it takes. Kevin, sorry, back to your recruiting. Like, what was it about, if you don't mind, what was it about Yale, aside from the name Yale, that really attracted you to it? Was it the coach? Was it the school? Was it the balance? Like, what was it for you that I want to go to Yale?
It was a lot. I think Yale was a very good school, and I visited the campus. I liked it very much, and we had a really good golf course. So, that made a lot of sense. And then also the coach was awesome. I really, really liked Colin. My 4 years of experience have really been elevated by playing
Hmm.
for him. I think he focused on the stuff that I really resonated with. He very much cares about team dynamic, the recruits, the people, and the college golf experience. I think hearing that from a coach was very important for me. It was like, hey, like, I went through this, Colin graduated from Yale playing sport as well. So he understood, the experiences, not only as a college golfer, but also a college golfer at Yale, and, what were important stuff for us to do. So I think that was a very, very important point for me. So, very coach driven. I think everyone that, around me on my team had a great time, and I think a lot of it really attributes to Colin. He did a great job to make sure that's the kind of dynamic we had on our team.
Oh man, that's great. I knew Colin a little bit, and every time I had a encounter with him, he was first class, very, very professional. Um, I'm not going to let you go, Kevin. I'm not. I know you probably have to get to work soon in Hong Kong, but I do want to ask. I mentioned to the audience a little bit about the tournament in Macau. Do you mind sharing, like, what prompted you to kind of spearhead that, and how did it go?
Sure thing. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to. So essentially, we came back, and then as college golfers, working not in the golf industry anymore, we were like, how can we really make our mark? And coming up with a tournament was super important in Asia because the players like myself, like the only way to get a college coach to watch you play is to fly to the U.S. and
Mm.
try to play well in your 1 or 2 month summer schedule, which is immensely challenging. And then on the flip side was on the coaches, I've noticed that there's, first of all, I think out of the region there's more and more really good golfers that are going to go out there and be your number one, number two, or number three guy at a very competitive team, and there's only more of them. So coaches do also want a channel to see junior golfers from Asia, but they just kind of like not sure where to go. So we essentially think
Hmm.
if we could come up with one event where we can aggregate the talent and make it easier for coaches to come over and watch, kind of like the European Team Championship, if you would, where
Ah,
you're going to go to play
yeah,
one tournament. If as a coach, you're going to go watch one tournament in Europe. Like you'll go to these 1 or 2 tournaments that fit your schedule. Currently, I don't think there's any tournament in Asia that fits the coach's schedule and aggregates
sure.
talent. So essentially, having that together in a time that's convenient for coaches is a good proposition, especially for a lot of coaches that want to kind of like discover Asian talent before they come over and win an AJGA. Because I think there's a lot of rising stars that are still on the earlier end, and also there's a lot of hidden gems where they might have struggled a little bit, in their 1 month summer schedule, but actually a very good player.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. You mentioned that struggling in that 1 month. There's a lot of pressure on these international students when they come in the summer because they feel like that's their moment. They've got to play well. And so I think it's a
Well,
really go ahead. Great idea about
I mean,
this
that's
tournament.
pretty much it, right? You do have to play well because I think a lot of the sentiment I got a lot was tournaments in Asia or even Europe are great, but for coaches they're just more of a reference point because they don't really know who you're playing against, what course you're playing on. So like if you told any coach you finished second in the China X Championship, shooting 71, 72, 73, or 68, the coach is going to be great. Like you're playing good golf, you're shooting good scores, but who did you play against, or who, where were the scores, or like how can I follow your schedule? Like all these stuff are kind of like hurdles that are difficult to overcome because understand as a coach's perspective, I want to make sure I only get 2 spots a year, so I want to make sure I know everything about this player and this is the best guy for me, right? So definitely, like if you win an AJGA, everyone knows like, okay, you're a legit
Yeah.
serious golfer at this talent. You beat X, Y, and Z in this field. You have a very good understanding of kind of like where this player stands. But that's just not the same for a tournament in Asia. So, the only solution I see is for them to come and see for themselves, right? It's just like, I'm not going to tell you who's good, but if you see someone you like, then it speaks volumes a lot more than watching them shoot a score.
Are you planning to have this tournament again in
Oh
January?
yeah, I think it's a good, still working towards it. Definitely have high hopes for everything. So let's see where it goes.
And how can the audience find out some more information on this? What's the name of the tournament or website?
I'll drop. It's fairwaysports.org. So just go into that and you'll see. We're gonna post a lineup later this year, and it's gonna be good. So it's gonna be in around January 2026.
And you said fairwaysports.org?
Yes.
All right, there you have it, audience. Kevin, thanks a lot for hopping on. I hope you don't have to go to work. Maybe you got a tea time later today, but really appreciate the insight. I think our audience really grateful for what you had to share. So thanks a lot, Kevin.
Thank you, Coach. This is a really good podcast series, and I've been following since episode 1. So looking forward to see more stuff come out of this channel.
Oh, you're putting too much pressure on me, man.
Pressure. You said it yourself. Pressure's good. Pressure's good.
That's for other people, not me. Thanks a lot, Kevin. All right,
Thank you very
take
much,
care.
Coach.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.